Hello all, welcome to this lecture series for SYBSc Botany Semester 3rd Paper 1 BO 231 Taxonomy of Angiosperms and Plant Ecology. Today we are going to start with the fifth chapter, that is Introduction to Ecology. I am Dr. Bhagwat Manjushri Gokul from the Department of Botany, Radhabai Kale Mahila Mahavidyalay, Ahmednagar. So, starting with the introduction. So, as we all know, the survival of human beings on Earth depends on resources from nature and the understanding of the surrounding environment. But over a period of time, man has overexploited the resources and thus has posed a serious threat for his own survival. In this context, being a cross-cutting interdisciplinary science, ecology it holds a key position. Ecology it is the study of structure, function, and interactions of living organisms and their environments. Most of the problems, such as the loss of biodiversity, climate change, global warming, greenhouse effect, ozone depletion, soil degradation, pollution, etc., all comes under the scope of ecology. Ecology is thus a emerging science of human substance and sustainability. Hence, it becomes very necessary for us to understand the ecological principles for more sustainable use of resources and to develop strategies to overcome the problems related to environmental imbalance at local, regional as well as global level. So, ecology it is one of the most important branch of science which is concerned with the existence of man on the planet Earth. So moving on to the definition. So number of scientists have given different definitions of the term ecology. According to Reiter in 1866, who was a German biologist, he termed the he coined the term okogi, which is derived from the Greek word okios, which means home, and logos, which means to discuss or to study. Ernst Haeckel in the year 1869 was the first one to use this term. So ecology, according to Haeckel, is the study of relationship of organism to its organic as well as inorganic environment. Then again, the other definition of ecology is that the branch of biology that studies the interrelationships between organisms and their environment. According to Odom, in the year 1971, he defined ecology as the study of totality of patterns of relation to the surroundings. Krebs also gave the definition of ecology in the year 1985. According to him, the scientific study of the interactions that determine the distribution and abundance of organisms is called as ecology. So, in simple words, we can say the relationship which an organism shares with its environment or the inter relationship between the organisms and their environment is called as the ecology. Now, what is the concept of ecology? So, ecology it deals with various components of the environment such as the climate, soil, plants, animals, the decomposition process, diversity, as well as the dominance. It mainly focuses on the links between these factors. So, the interrelationship of the climate, soil, plants, animals, etc. It uh, it is included in the ecology. So thus ecology it has become an interdisciplinary science that involves biologists, chemists, geologists, statisticians, mathematicians, geographers and anthropologists. All these disciplines they have to work in harmony so as to understand the interactions between the variables. So thus we can say ecology is a multidisciplinary and holistic science. It is typically a practical science which is concerned with the field work experiments, and laboratory studies. Thus, the basic concept of ecology is that everything depends on everything else. Now, moving on to the next important term which is included in the ecology is the auticology. So, what is auticology? So, the study of interactions of an individual organism or a single species within the living and non-living factors of the environment is called as the auticology. So, when an ecological study is restricted to a single species or a single organism, then it is called as autocology. Okay, so the ecological study which concentrate on one species is known as autocology, where auto means cells. So when a ecologist he focuses on a specific species for his study, the study is called as autocology. So the ecologists they work either on an individual species for many years to find out its various aspects, or they work on the same specimens from different parts of the world. So there can be two ways of studying autocology. For example, ecologist he can work on the same species for several years, so that he can find out the more details or more aspects of that species. Or the ecologist they can study the same specimen or the same species from different parts of the world. So in both the cases, it is called as autocology. Then out of 30 to 40 million species that exist on the planet, very few are studied in detail. The autocology of bracken fern, that is the Pteridium aquilinium, which is the most successful fern in the world, it has been studied in detail. This fern is very common in the Western Ghats, especially in Mahabaleshwar. Once established, it is very difficult to remove it as it can survive in wide range of conditions. So such type of studies enable us to know the various aspects of the individual plants. The next term is the synecology. The synecology is the study of communities, ecosystems, and their relationships with the environment. So, the synecology it emphasizes on all the species that are present in a community or a particular ecosystem by considering all the organisms and environmental factors as a whole unit. So, as in autocology, what we studied that it focuses on a single species, but in case of synecology, it focuses on all the species that are present in a community or in a particular environment. Thus, the study of forest ecosystem, agro ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, etc., they all come under the term synecology. Similarly, the study of different communities such as the mangrove community, oak woodland community, etc., also comes under the term synecology. Then the next term which we are going to study is the biological diversity. So starting with the definition, biodiversity is defined as totality of genes, species and ecosystem in a region. Or it can also be defined as biodiversity refers to all the variety of life that can be found on earth, including the plants, animals, fungi, microorganisms, as well as those uh, as well as to the communities that they form and the habitats in which they live. So biodiversity basically you can say it is the diversity of life forms on the earth. So it includes all the plants, animals, human beings, fungi, microorganisms, etc., including the habitat in which they live. So biodiversity it is also referred to as biological diversity. So both these terms they are used many a times, they are used as synonyms. So biological diversity is same as the biodiversity. So a simple definition of this biological diversity or biodiversity is that it is the sum total of variety of living organisms on the earth. So all the living organisms on the earth they comprise the biodiversity. Now, what is the basic concept behind the term biodiversity and what is the scope of biodiversity? So, biodiversity is a word not only used by scientists but also by the layman, public groups, environmental groups, NGOs, conservationists, industrialists, politicians, and economists. So nowadays, this term it is very randomly used many a times just for fashion. We can say it is used, but actual meaning of this term is not known by many of us. So this term it has gained a very high profile at both the national and international levels in the recent times. So the loose usage of this word has given many different meanings, suggestions, and intentions that the actual concept of biodiversity has been lost in complication and misunderstanding. Hence, there is a real need to clarify uh, or define the concept of biodiversity, which has its own principles and facts. So, biodiversity is the essence of life sciences as it covers entire biosphere in a small world. It is in fact a very vast and complex concept which includes multiple aspects of life. It includes genetic diversity, species diversity, as well as the ecosystem diversity. Biodiversity is also associated with agriculture, aquaculture, animal husbandry, forestry, and most of the applied branches of biology. Globalization has led to the rapid changes in the land use patterns and regional development activities. The first of the half of the present century is definitely dominated by the biology. The biodiversity is gaining importance as new industrial developments and innovations are going to be based on biodiversity. Biodiversity in coming years will offer new sources of food, medicine, and other human requirements. For this, there is a need to develop knowledge of biodiversity. Biodiversity is the resource on which all human existence depends. That is, it can be called as the pillar of development. Biodiversity has already proved itself to be a fundamental concept of the world. The range of influence of biodiversity is much more and wide than any other field of either biology or other scientific disciplines. So, based on this, there are different types of biodiversity which were described by Whitaker in the year 1972. Three terms for measuring biodiversity are alpha diversity, which is also called as the species richness, beta diversity, and the gamma diversity. So, the first term, which is alpha diversity, also called as the species richness, it is the diversity within a particular area or ecosystem and is usually expressed by the number of species in that ecosystem. So, in a particular area or a ecosystem, usually the number of species present in that particular area is called as the species richness or the alpha diversity of that species. Then the beta diversity, it is the ratio between local or alpha diversity and the regional diversity. So thus it can be said it is the diversity between two habitats or two regions. So two different regions and the alpha diversity within that regions is called as the beta diversity. And lastly, the gamma diversity, it is a measure of the overall diversity for the different ecosystems within a region. So if a region it consists of different ecosystems, the overall diversity of that region is called as the gamma diversity. So in other words, it can be said that it is the total diversity of a landscape and is a combination of both alpha and beta diversity. So it is a combination where the alpha as well as the beta diversity is calculated of a total diversity.